We're recording.
Good morning to you all.
Good morning, Phil.
Morning.
Morning, Phil.
Hey, Phil O'Neill, I tried to call you back yesterday
That's all right.
and I couldn't get through. Something was wrong with your cell phone.
Oh, really?
Yes.
All right.
Phil, we can see your chin, but not your face.
T-Mobile had problems
There you go.
system-wise yesterday.
That's
Okay.
it.
Steve, it's all yours.
Very good. Good morning. I call this meeting to order. First order of business, we have a full slate today. First order of business is approval of the minutes from June 2nd.
Move to approve.
You know what, I have one comment in the first paragraph, the first project, Schrader, about 3 sentences up from the bottom where it says, Bill thought they keep it simple, clean porch with study instead of cables, it should be gable, G-A-B-L-E, just not plural, just one.
Oh, sorry.
No problem.
Okay. We noted.
Motion by Naylor. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
I second it. There we
I'm
go.
sorry.
Okay, motion by Naylor, seconded by Childs with the amendment with the comments. King,
Yes.
Childs,
Yes.
Naylor.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Very good. First on the agenda, number 1, 297 North Street.
Do we have the applicant?
Anybody on there, Christie?
Give me 1 second if you would, please.
Okay.
Harry, are you sharing your screen yet?
Yes, I am.
I'm not getting a shared screen. Is everybody else getting one?
We
I
are.
Got it.
Yes.
Oh,
Not very big.
Rick. Rick, I'm going to invite you to become a panelist to do the discussion, and I'm looking for Todd. There's Todd and Todd as well. We should have Rick and Todd joining as panelists.
Rick is here.
Todd is here too. Can you hear me?
Okay. We can.
Okay, great. All right.
Audio only, I guess. Please explain your project.
All right, great. This project obviously is located on North Street. And
Architect or owner or?
so I am I'm a residential designer. The project team consists of Rick Hawksley, who's the architect, myself. I am the owner of Clark Design LLC, and then Chris and Jen Rooney are the owners. I think they're in the meeting also as well.
Thank you.
And yeah, so Chris and I have worked on a few projects. Most recently, he lived on Elm Court. We did an addition on Elm Court. I worked with him and his wife. I also designed an in-ground pool at that residence and a patio. When they moved from Chagrin Falls, I designed an addition on a house in Solon for them as well. And they're currently, they've sold that house and they're moving back to the village. So we had some design work through in their previous home in terms of the layout for the great room, the kitchen, and the dining area that they really, really liked. So we incorporated that into the design process of this house and came up with a homestead plan that relates to a fairly narrow lot. It's 60 feet wide, which I think is the minimum, and oriented it with a very linear presentation with a side-loaded garage that does not face the street.
And then it looks like you've got a room over the garage and then a small second floor over the house. Is that the?
That is correct. Yeah, there'll be a bonus room for future finish above the garage, which will have a second staircase located off the mudroom, and that's adjacent to the house, and also the 2 bedrooms and a common area upstairs on the second floor. There'll be a screen porch in the back, and they're also applying for an in-ground pool. There'll be an in-ground pool in the back as well.
Mhm.
Garage is essentially in the front yard. It's a unique situation, but the garage is towards the street.
Yeah, I wanted to address that. So I think what's troubling to me, and it really isn't about the detailing or, I think we've all seen these decorative garage elements, and I actually think they oftentimes are more frequent in communities where there are zoning against front-facing garages. So you can say, okay, the garage is side-facing, but the garage also the cars become the most prominent feature of the house. And as I drove up and down North Street this morning, I really was thinking about whether there's anything consistent to this on North Street. And I don't think there is, and I think this is a very slippery slope for Chagrin. I mean, I think obviously we know these houses pretty well. This is a nicely detailed version of that scheme, but I do think that scheme is actually fundamentally out of place on North Street and in and amongst the more historic fabric of our town.
Except that the one that's 2 doors down is the same concept.
The one that's next, you mean the one, you mean the Paint and Paint house?
No, the 2 doors further north is a house that's we approved and is just about to get under construction. They cut the curb. They're getting ready to break ground. It was an outlot for Falls Walk.
Like I said, a slippery slope.
Yeah.
I guess I want to make sure that people don't think that 60 feet wide is a narrow lot in Chagrin. It's actually a typical to wide lot. And we're going to be talking about how there's no way you could get a car past the house on a 60-foot wide lot in Chagrin when probably 500 houses are doing it.
Mhm.
This site, I mean, I feel like it's very important as well to provide this parking spot. The front yard, we're still underneath the minimum requirement for the parking area in the front yard of the house, and North Street being so busy and narrow for its size is we felt it was a good idea to be able to have guests park off the street and be able to pull in. It's not we're not overwhelming the front yard with concrete, and there's a slope, a pretty steep slope at the front of near the sidewalk that we would like to take that down to blend between the lots on either side, so there isn't such a steep approach at the beginning of the driveway, and we'll open up that lot to the street as well. So,
I mean, I'm just wondering if you can't take this. It's about the front entry, right? I know you're going to decorate and kind of pretty up the front of the garage without the garage doors, and people put fake bays on them and stuff like that. It doesn't really replace the front entry, but having the garage in front makes the front entry of the house much more minimized compared to, I guess, 97% of the houses on the street. If you were to use that slope, I mean, you could potentially pass past the house. The house would be much further forward than what I mean by the house is the actual living area of the house. You could drive past it and even park underneath from the rear and be attached. There are a lot of different strategies you could pursue to to create, or park sideways with a garage element that's attached on the rear of the house.
Yeah, it's such an incredible, it's a really, one of the design features of this house is how it really captures the beauty of that back of this lot. It slopes down, you're high up, there's a significant grade slope, so we'll have a natural walkout to this house, and the wooded view in the back is, I mean, it's a really beautiful feature of this house that they are going to be able to enjoy from the entire back of the house.
Right, everyone wants to benefit the back of their house, but that doesn't necessarily benefit the street, which is our primary concern.
I agree with George, and I'm also concerned about the cars that would be out, because I know how it goes. You sometimes don't make the cars into the garage, or you have guests over. And one of the things I know, because I live on a street that has the 60-foot lots, traditionally with a barn or a garage in the back, and no one parks in the front of their house. It distracts from the streetscape. And I have the same concerns as George does with this garage in the front.
This is Bill. I was just wondering, is it possible to just investigate this? I can see your concerns about putting the garage in the back and such, but is it possible to flip the garage to the back right side, put the garage underneath like George was speaking of above, put your screen porch in your bedroom, and then still have your glass facade to the left so you can get the view that you're trying to capture? I mean, I think you got a nice composition. I mean, I like the massing, I like the detailing. I mean, there's some tweaks that I would do, but overall, I think you did a nice job on the house. I love your perspectives. I think they're well done. I think the plan functions. I guess we're just trying to see if there's any way you could investigate this garage situation. If you have enough fall to go underneath, still have a walkout below, have the garage to the right underneath, and then build over top of the garage so you could still capture some of those views, maybe a screen porch on top of the garage or some of those other spaces that you were trying to. But I think you got a nice project here. I just think it's really the garage. I'm concerned about the mass in the front of the garage, and you almost lose the entry in a way.
Does have nice detailing. Yep, I agree.
It's well done.
Thank you. I mean, we can take a look at that. My concern is, and I can appreciate the streetscape, the approach of that. I mean, part of the reason for the design of the garage was to address that and to keep the fabric pedestrian and very attractive to somebody who was walking by. I know that that much concrete and the backyard, having to turn around with the house and the lot will end up having a lot of concrete along the side and all the way to the back, and the backyard it would really impact the usability of that rear yard, because but I mean, it's something that we can look into and investigate. That's absolutely something that we can do.
Here's another thought. Instead of side loading the garage, I don't know what the site conditions are, if you can do this topography wise and just kind of look at it. Could you run the driveway all the way back, put the rear load the garage so that you can capture, maybe if there's 24-foot garage plus whatever that link is, then that could be all yard and possible pull, so that the driveway goes past all those elements, goes to the back, and you just keep a very thin driveway of maybe 10 or 12 feet, and then rear load the garage. So if you have still some yard, and you can enjoy that back facade.
Yeah, it's again, it's possible. I don't know that it's ideal in this situation for this, but yeah, I mean, it's possible.
I think the potential advantage, well, I think there's a big question about, putting the garage below. So in other words, connecting with a lower level. So, I mean, I understand you'd be talking about that with the owners and thinking that through. But remembering that, you know, the first floor living of the house is kind of disconnected because it's up a level from the grade in the back. And, you know, actually having that garage to work on top of, as Bill was mentioning, you could add really nice outdoor or, you know, screened porch or glass room kind of living space that really takes advantage of the back on top of the garage. I mean, that would be a way of capturing kind of an indoor outdoor, you know, right? It's like I can imagine it right below that, tucked below that glass room.
Yeah, it's a very completely different layout in terms of flow and function for a family to, and guests to always have to arrive in inclement weather to approach the house and drive down the slope and then around the back and come up from the basement to the first floor of the house. It's changing the concept and the fabric of the house 100% in my mind. But like I said, I mean, it is doable, and I can see the benefit of in certain areas, but it's a 180-degree design from what the client's wishes were, and so that's it's a lot to take in at this moment.
Right. No, I understandably.
Yeah, and it would be a complete redesign of the house, the function, the flow, the way that they want to live, and it's a major change that's been being requested.
Nonetheless, I think that's an investigation that needs to occur, given comments that we've heard.
So we're suggesting a revise and resubmit.
I so move.
Second, sorry.
Who made that second?
I did, Bill Childs.
Okay, thank you. Is there any comments we need for the minutes?
I think it might be worth saying that this is about making the entry to the house more prominent in a way that's consistent with North Street, both the historic and some of the more modern houses on the street, by exploring how to alternatives to placing a garage as the most prominent feature in front of the house. And that we think the lot width does support that. And I would also say probably the topography supports it.
Okay. Joan, you have those comments?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, so we have a motion by King, seconded by Childs for revise and resubmit. Naylor,
Yes.
King,
Yes.
Childs.
Yes.
Okay. Todd, thank you very much. We'll be in touch, I'm sure.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yep.
All right.
Doors down on North Street, 279 Franklin, adding a sliding door to the rear of the dwelling.
The presenter, I have Donna, who's been promoted to a panelist. Donna, at this time, if you'd like to test your sound and start your video if you'd like.
Okie doke.
Thank you. Donna, is there anyone else presenting with you today?
No, just me.
Thank you.
The floor is yours, Donna. If you just state your name and who you're representing, you can explain the little project here.
All right. My name is Donna Mintz and I represent the Mintz Company. The project here is for homeowner Beverly Franklin, put this deck on her house and can only access it from stairs at the far side of the deck. And so she would like to access the deck from the inside of the house from her kitchen and put a sliding door where that window currently is. And There is a light right now. When she put the deck on, the light was below, or the deck is now below a light that used to be by the garage area. And so she's got the electrical there, and she would be putting a more decorative type of light there once the door goes in.
Okay.
I mean, I really can't see anything to object to in this proposal. I think that I once put a 5-foot sliding door in for a client who was a larger person, and it's crazy that 5-foot sliding doors really only open less than 2 feet, about 1 foot 9 or 10. So we ended up swapping that door out. As long as eyes are open on how those sliding doors work. I mean, I think obviously accessing the deck from the kitchen will be a big benefit. So
I agree with George's comment. That's a fairly small sliding glass door, and it will be tight getting out.
but
Yeah,
that's
she's
up to the
just, yeah.
client. Yeah, I mean, that's totally fine.
Advantage to sliding doors at all here? I personally don't care for sliding doors, but does
More
that solve
space.
issues?
They're consistent with this house,
The
and
windows are sliders as well. Casement windows, of course, would be a different look for the whole house. But the room also requirement, this area of the deck is not real wide. So if you couldn't open them out, and opening them into her kitchen is not a real large room either. So
Mhm.
that just gives her the best use of the space.
I understand.
sliders solve the screen problem too, inherently.
Mhm.
Is that sliding glass door centered on that window to the right of it, to the
Yeah,
left of
that's
it?
what I was-
Like, where is it in relationship to that window?
Yeah, we'll use the same one side opening, and then it has to be expanded just a little bit towards the light.
Mhm.
Okay.
I think this is absolutely fine.
Do I hear a motion?
I move to approve plans as presented.
I second it.
Motion by Naylor, seconded by Childs. Roll call. Naylor,
Yes.
King,
Yes.
Childs.
Yes.
Okay, thanks, Donna. We'll be in touch.
All right, thank you very much.
Wait, Donna, can you just tell me what was the name of your company again? I
It's the
didn't-
Mints Company.
Vince Company? Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
70 East Summit Street, proposing an addition of an attached garage. There's a variance involved in this.
I can't identify the presenter in the attendee list by name. Could you please use the raise your hand functions to identify yourself? Ah, there you are. Thank you. One moment. Jim's on the line and Hallie Novak as a presenter is getting online. Perfect.
Hi, everyone.
Hello.
All right, so yes, my name is Haley Novak. I'm representing Jim Finley today. I work with Horton Harper Architects. The architect, Wesley Harper, couldn't make it today, but I'll be presenting for you all. So for Jim and his wife, Beth, we are proposing an attached garage to their existing home on East Summit Street. Yeah, here you're taking a look at the site plan. We've got the plan pulled up. So we're proposing to add the addition to the east side of the house, kind of set back from the front facade. The addition would include an attached garage as well as a new like boot room, mud room that would connect the garage to the existing kitchen. the garage is intended to be set back a bit from the existing dining room to leave that dining room window exposed. And then, yep, great. That's the front elevation there. That dining room is a addition to the original house, which is in the folk Victorian style. So, overall, our hope with the addition was to keep the design, subordinate to the existing historic home, but still complement the, existing home's design and features. Since it is an outbuilding, we, took a little bit of a less detailed approach, or I guess took a more utilitarian approach to trimming out the garage door and the kind of false gable door above. However, we did try to, the goal was to break up the scale of the garage, with the carriage style doors, with the glazing in the doors, to give that a more human scale. The gable, again, trying to just complement that folk Victorian style, and try to keep the peak of that new gable below the existing houses. We're proposing a 9 to 12 slope roof. It's not quite as steeply pitched as the main peak of the house. It's kind of an in between of the gable you see over the the porch entry. And again, that was just to keep that roof peak lower. However, we are making sure we keep that eave, give ourselves enough clearance above the existing dining room roof there. Let's see. There will be some storage space above the garage, so that is contributing a bit to the height there. But really, we have to keep that height a little bit higher again for that clearance. At the back of the addition, we're proposing double doors for access to the garage, and then we are also proposing a new entry door and large window at that new mudroom that connects to the existing home. For the entry door, we're proposing a style that's similar to the existing house's front door. Here at the back of the house, we are trying to maintain the kind of complement the existing home's pennant detail above the window. The goal is to make this as seamless of a addition as possible. So we would be proposing lap cedar siding that would match the profile of the existing home's cladding. The trim would be sized to, again, match the existing homes, and would be painted the same very dark green, almost black color. You can see here at the boot room, we're kind of building off of the existing dining room's gable roof. We're just extending that roof peak a bit higher, just to get enough of a head height within that boot room. But we're kind of keeping that as low as possible. Again, just so that our garage roof, we can keep that as low as possible. The garage is, we're keeping it as tight as we can. We've got about just a little bit less than a 19-foot side-to-side clearance in the garage. And then at the back of the garage, we are proposing a set of steps to go up to just a storage room above. And then kind of beyond the garage, in their backyard, we were kind of working within the constraints of the topography there. It does drop in grade quite a bit. And
So you got a picture of that?
if you go to the site plan, we've very faintly kind of drawn in the topography lines.
Can we see the side elevation from the neighbor, the showing the garage? Or really, what I'm looking for is a side elevation of the house. The garage may obscure part of that.
Yeah, what are you looking for, George? Right there?
Yeah, I guess, yes, thanks. I would point out for later for in a moment, that the blank elevation of the side of that could be a point of discussion. And then could you show me the plan, Harry, please? Or show us the plan, I'm sorry.
Yep, other direction.
There we go.
Right, so as far as that blank facade goes there, we're having to propose a pretty tight setback. And per building code, once you get below 3 feet, you're no longer allowed to have openings. This was a tough decision just because the garage is, we're kind of pushing the limits of how narrow it is now. So that was kind of how we ended up with that blanker facade there.
Right. Right. And is this going to go for a variance?
Yes.
Yeah. So
Gotcha. I mean, so from, I think from the front, what's really successful about this is that it looks like one of the old barn garages in town. It is back from the front of the house. And it looks like maybe that, the not quite consistent existing addition that's is the connector, you could argue that, hey, that all happened later. So I think that's successful. I think it's going to make, it completely eliminates the concept of a side door. I think you're going to end up using people walking through the garage as your side door. I was thinking that through. That's, I think, obviously, up to, Jim and you guys. The blank side elevation, you're 2'8" from the lot line, and you said 3 feet and under. Gosh, if you can shift the garage over 4 inches, that would be really great. Just to have one window on that side would be great, but I do understand that 19 feet is a dead minimum with the garage. I think the 19-foot wide structure looks better because of that, and I don't mind the lower roof slope, because I think that's also kind of consistent with what one of these barn garages would have looked like.
I think the proportions on this are really well done. The barn, and I really like the drop siding, cedar siding, the details on it. And I don't know, I would propose asking for a variance to get that window on the east elevation. I just think it's going to add light to the building, interest to the building. And I wouldn't want to make the building any narrower in order to get into that setback, because that's what's so great about the proportion of this and the pitch. So I really like it.
Thank you. Yeah, I think that's a good idea. I think to maybe, ask for variance from the building department for that window would be a good option to look into.
It's tough to work with the fire department in our town.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Say too much about this project, you'll never pass another fire inspection.
What comes around goes around.
Going on a limb to risk that, I would say this would be a nice time to tidy up some of the windows that are there's a difference of shapes in many of the windows, some of them existing, but as long as you're building the structure, perhaps a front elevation, if you could, Harry. Tidying up the, particularly the casement looking windows, maybe they are casements on the,
At the dining room.
is that the dining room there? Yeah.
Right.
And that'd be nice to have that get along with the other windows more.
Can I talk?
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, I hate those casement windows. I hate all of them. And originally, when the porch was designed by Becky Pantuso, she had, you know, done stuff for our kitchen to try to match all the windows. We just couldn't afford it at the time, but that is in the plan. And we hate that little kitchen bump out. And I totally wanted doors and windows on the east side of
Yeah, we
garage,
have
but there was the whole, oh, you know, you can't have fire penetration there, even though it's really not that close to the neighbor's house. But anyway, that's all I gotta say.
That's a barn or a stable, and you designed it beautifully to look like a barn or stable, which would never have those two lights beside the door.
Okay.
There might be another way to light that area, a pole light or a barnyard light or something, but two lights, although they're an older design, they really look out of place to me on a barn.
Okay, we can look in the
Are you saying that
options.
the like a light over the doors is more consistent than a little
Well,
sconces next to the doors?
a light on a pole or a barnyard light, which is a specific design. There are different ways. They
But that's
just
their front yard. I don't think we should suggest a light on a pole in their front yard.
well, it's a barnyard, kind of a pretend barnyard. So
If this was out in the country, it'd be a street light hanging off the building. So
Right.
high intensity discharge.
nice sodium pink one out there.
Yeah, right.
Bill,
Okay.
Perhaps I have that exact pole light in my yard in a very similar situation. Take a peek at it, maybe. It looks it would belong a little more.
What do you think, Bill?
I think you did a really nice job on the garage, the actual form, the fenestration, the massing, the detailing. That looks great. I do feel like this solution's a little bit forced, and I can understand your predicament, and it's a tough problem to solve, trying to put a attached garage here. But hopefully you've educated the client as far as the distance and as far as the way the garage functions. Typically from a garage door to an interior wall, you want at least 3 feet. Right now, there's only about a foot. So hopefully you educated him, like when he pulls his car in, it's going to be tough to get his door open and get out. It's going to be a tight squeeze. Even with 3 feet, when people try to open their door to the full length, sometimes it can almost hit the wall. So as long as he's aware of that, that's really, really tight. The other thing is, I don't think it's a good solution how this bar just slams up against the house. I think there should be, it's kind of awkward geometry and kind of doesn't flow really well, which again, I know you have a difficult, solution to try to figure out there. Usually you want something like this that, if you have the garage, you want to reveal this corner of the garage and then have a link and a form, but you don't have the room there. To me, this would be a great detached garage out in the backyard and then get the proper width so he can drive. But then again, I know people don't want detached, they want to walk right into the house. But I just as long as they're cognizant of the constraints, it might end up being a 1-car garage.
Right.
The slope really drops.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, I don't think we'd be able to, I think if we tried to make it detached, it's like we'd almost have to keep the house too close for comfort. You wouldn't be able to get enough distance for it to make sense because of that slope.
Gotcha.
Okay. Do we have something to study here? It seems, does it involve a variance making some of the, considering some of the changes mentioned? Do we need a variance to discuss those?
What if we do a supportive preliminary, approval with suggestions for study of whether that window could happen on the side. I mean, this is just my thought. You guys do what you think is appropriate, because it's going to come back for final. So we'd have a chance to talk about, if we suggest a window on the side now, they can come back and report back on how that played out.
Without a variance, I don't think we can really take any action here.
Well, we can approve them preliminarily contingent on,
Zoning
Make a
approval.
recommendation for an
Yeah.
east elevation window. So motion for preliminary approval with
right.
a recommendation for an east elevation window so that we convey that to the BZA.
Yeah, I think the BZA would be looking for guidance architecturally, so that allows them to say, okay, the ARB approved the architecture
Yes.
in general, in the big picture.
Okay,
I'll
I
make
make
that
that
in-
motion. Yeah.
Wendy,
Yes,
that's almost a motion, or that was a motion?
that was a motion.
Okay, so
Would
do
you
you
like
want to
Second
repeat
that
it?
motion.
Wendy, do you want to repeat it?
Sure. A motion for preliminary approval of plans as presented with recommendation for east elevation window.
Thank you.
I second that motion.
Seconded by King. Okay. Joan, you got the comments?
Yes.
A motion by Naylor, seconded by King. Childs,
Yes.
King,
Yes.
Naylor.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, folks.
All right,
Very
thank you,
good.
everyone.
That'll be neat. New dwelling on the hillside, where are you?
420 North.
420 North Street. Revisited from preliminary approval from several years ago.
Yeah, 2005. I give you a little history here. This is in front of the ABR back in 2005 for preliminary approval. There was no engineering done. I believe this is going to be a hillside lot. I think I gave you guys a copy of the minutes from 2005 where they granted the preliminary approval. In speaking with our law director, this is what they call the Sawhill subdivision that was adopted or approved back in the 80s, mid 80s. And talking with our law director, they did have to get a variance for this lot, which they did. It's a shared driveway. But also it had to go through planning and zoning for approval. And he thought that the applicant would probably have to go back to planning and zoning for this lot as well as a reapproval. So right now you're just looking at the preliminary design of the house, and obviously it needs to be studied for engineering and any other board approvals going forward. That's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Who's presenting?
Dennis is here.
Dennis Marino.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Dennis?
Or?
Hi.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, this is very preliminary. I'm just going to make sure we're going in the right direction here. I think Tim Oland is doing the design work for me. He got a little carried away maybe with the stone on the front, but I think just the proportions and size, of the house and window locations are what I'm looking at primarily here. Also on the rear elevation, there will actually be that blank part there is totally out of the ground. So we have to fill that in, that'll be a walkout, actually above grade section.
Mm-hmm.
Engineering I did have engineering done in this lot previously. I did have the plan that was previously approved. I scaled this down from what that was. I had a 3-car garage. This will most likely, my plan would be actually having a basement under the garage rather than hauling that much fill in.
how, what is the elevation of the first floor of this house versus the existing house that will be its neighbor?
I think I'm slightly higher than that.
In other words, within 4 or 5 feet?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I try to get, actually, I want to get
Oh, 3 feet.
close as reasonable there. What in previous versions, I think I could maybe tweak this. We ended up actually, the garage, I ended up having actually a couple steps down to the house from the garage, which we may yet end up doing here, just to keep that first floor from getting up too high.
I actually, Dennis, I think this design is kind of caught between some things. I feel like the windows are too wide to be casements, but not shown as double hungs. I feel like the hip roof form, it just doesn't, I mean, I think that the existing house down there is a gabled form. Not sure why you're heading into this hip roof form. And I think this house is not going to be very visible, probably like its neighbor.
No, it's not.
On North Street. It's kind, you know, it's kind of set by itself, but it still feels like it's like caught in history somewhere. Like it came about in the 80s or 90s, and then it's just kind of caught there.
That's fitting for the neighborhood.
Yeah, it looks like it was a Senlac design from the 80s. Here. So, I mean, I think that's in the big.
I guess I'm interested in your feedback on that, because I was kind of questioning the hip form myself a little bit with Tim. I'm seeing that more as a straight gable, and maybe even shed dormers on that thing would give us the same effect, but I think a totally different look. And obviously the stone element, there's way too much stone on the front.
So, I mean, I'd let the rest of the board, and I don't think you've gone, you know, way down this path.
No, I
think putting a house there is fine if the engineering works. Obviously, you're upslope of, you know, Northwoods, and it's kind of, you know, it's a tricky lot, but it'll be really important what the 3-story rear facade actually presents, because that will be visible up on the hillside, I think, there.
I don't know from where.
From Northwoods? Or is it not?
No, it's nowhere near there.
Is it?
No, it's no, I mean, yeah,
it's. I need to put it together. I didn't go Google map it or anything.
No.
Yeah, it's actually, there's those bowling alley lots on North Cleveland actually run behind my lot, yeah.
Oh, okay. And what's that overlook? Is it you just seeing woods below you?
Yeah, well, what's left of them after the emerald ash borer, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that you've got a, you know, a flat lot house on a very steep slope, and you have a really great opportunity here to do something that's sort of more reflective of what's going on with the site. Try to I mean, my backyard is unwalkable.
Oh, you're on High Street, yeah.
Yeah, it's the same slope. It's just around the corner. And there's just no way to comfortably walk up and down, mow, and do any of that stuff. So once you put this in place, I mean, we're talking about 15 or 20 feet in a matter of the depth of the house. That's
yeah.
You know, this is you know, an opportunity to put. I'm not saying put it up on stilts, but
I had, yeah, if I had a thought, I did a similar kind of hillside home where I'm thinking that bump out I might just cantilever.
Yeah.
And yeah, I want to take advantage of the view in the back as much as possible.
I mean, to that point, I do think it's good to have you've got a 1-story eave line in the back, like a cape, in case of hip roof, but like a cape design, I think hanging onto that is nice because it'll keep it from being
Yeah.
on the back. But
Yeah, the second story second story is almost optional on this house because you're going to have so much below.
Right.
Right, yeah.
Okay,
so you're, I guess, yeah, that I kind of get a feel you're not loving the hip. So I guess.
Not loving the hip.
Okay.
And I think, I mean, I really realistically, all Tim did was draw some lines down to where he thinks the grade is going to be when you get to the back of the house. There's no.
Yeah, we need to flush, totally, we need to fill that in.
There's really no consideration as to what, how that actually happens. And it's a good opportunity to build a really nice house there. And it's challenging because, I mean, you're talking about a river of water coming down on that hill, down into that house. How you keep the water away and drain it around the house? I think the house needs to kind of reflect.
Well, it's essentially, yeah, the lower level is a big retaining wall is basically what the building
Yeah,
is.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, sounds like we're revising and resubmitting.
Yes. That's, yeah.
Consideration to the windows were mentioned, the hip, we certainly have talked about, and looking forward to knowing what the walkout looks like and what is entailed down there.
Second.
Okay.
So we have a motion by King, seconded by Naylor. Joan, you have all those comments?
Yes, thank you.
Childs,
Yes.
King,
Yes.
Naylor.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Dennis.
Okay, thanks a lot, guys.
Alrighty, look forward to it.
Yep.
Okay. Still stuck on North Street here, huh? 616 North Street, proposing new accessory building and removing 1990 accessory building.
Yep.
Matt has joined as a panelist.
Okay, Matt, you're up. I think you're muted.
Nope, we're gonna.
Now you're muted. Now you're unmuted.
Matt, can you give us a sound check? It looks like he's gonna do something to fix his audio. Matt,
Well-
whenever you're ready, just, oh yeah, we can't hear you. I
Yeah.
see your mouth moving, but
Sign language.
Yeah, you're not muted, but your audio is not connected. While we're waiting, I mean, I think you guys have seen this design for this new little garage structure. It completely took me back to living in Guilford, Connecticut. There's a like an iconic little structure out on the harbor off Guilford, right off the marina, this little spit of land that looks like a bird. You know, a teeny little structure with this big, low wraparound porch. It's kind of abandoned. I don't think there's any function to it. It looks amazing out on the harbor. I think is almost like symbolic of the town. And you know, it's odd to me to see that. I think it's beautiful. And it's odd to me to see it, you know, almost a similar structure in the woods. But that's all I could think of when I saw this little garage. And I was curious how all the porches would be, that wraparound porch would actually be inhabited. But it's a delicate, kind of attractive structure.
George, if I can please interrupt to offer Matt an alternative way of gaining audio. Matt, nod your head if you can hear me. So we can't hear you through your computer audio, but there is a way that you can use your phone to dial in. So on the chat, I have pushed out a phone number for you. And that phone number, if you dial it in and then enter the ID, you will join through audio through a telephone. And that phone number is 646-558-8656. It will ask you for a meeting ID, and that is 840-1300-5215. So if you'd like to join your audio through the phone, we'll give you a second to give that a try. Perfect. Thank you.
Nope,
Nope.
cannot hear you.
We could also jump back to this one later. We have 9.
Work on that with him while we move on.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, let me give Matt my number at work.
Can
Good.
this work?
Oh, there he is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
good. Oh,
Yeah,
good.
Yay. Right.
So Matt, you may have to mute your computer.
Oh, I wouldn't touch anything.
Oh, don't.
Is that better?
Just let's go with this. Yeah.
Okay.
Let's just go.
Perfect.
All right, so I'll walk through this with you. We're proposing to remove that existing garage that you can see in the photo. But if you can go to the large photo of the site, you can see the existing house where it says 616 North Street. And then over down, you can't really see the garage because there's such growth, trees. And then you can also kind of understand this little area, if anybody's familiar with it. The houses are sort of randomly placed. So the connection between the existing house and the proposed barn garage, I mean, you can make a connection, but it's sort of, out there versus the Chagrin proper where everything is kind of, you can tell what's connected with what. So Brad Camposo, I don't know if he's on, he should have been on the call. He has a little bit of a background with the client as well. But if you can walk over, you can go look at the drawings themselves. The client wants to use this as is to store additional cars, use it as a building workshop area, and then that wraparound porch, just be able to kind of hang out there. And they're very attached to this design with the large porches. So the challenge here, or the design challenge, is to get all these roofs to kind of fit and keep it within the height restriction as well. The board and batten siding really didn't render quite well, but it still can give you an idea.
What's the material for that?
It's going to be a board and batten, a wood painted.
Wood, okay, wood, yeah, great.
Yeah. And then stone to grade, and then asphalt singles. And then we're going to extend the drive to meet the existing roadway.
I mean, my only design question is whether the arched garage door works with this. I'm not sure it's consistent, but other than that, I like it.
Okay. So you're thinking something along the lines of a flat with a transom, kind of?
Yeah, or just a flat top with glass. I mean, I like the glass in them.
Yeah.
You know, and potentially the I don't know, you're running the line around. I can't tell if that's an overhang. It looks like it is in front of the garage.
Yeah, it's a slate overhang.
It's quite heavy because you're taking your architrave and running it around there without necessarily supporting it. Maybe something lighter, or you even actually bring the eave down a little, or give a little more room over the door could work. You know, maybe it looks more like the eaves, since you're not running around over the columns, and it does project. Yeah, I'm not sure that heaviness potentially is helping right there. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's what I've got.
Yeah.
Be a brackets instead, or.
This is Bill. I think this would be a lot more successful if this roof wasn't so steep. It goes right up underneath the eave. I think if it was a shallower pitch and was like a standing seam roof or something, it just kind of all gets like this, just becomes this big, huge blob. I think you need to run this roof at a lower pitch, would be my first suggestion. On the front, I would definitely put brackets to hold that overhang so it's just not floating there. And if you go back, can you go back to that front elevation, Harry? Yeah, I'd put, hold on, let me clear this real quick. I'd put brackets here, one here, you know, and then one here. And then I'd put some sort of a column or a pilaster here, so this isn't just floating in the air. So you have one here and you have one here. And then these muttons here, you never want to go horizontal with muttons. You want, or the lights, you want the lights to be vertical. So however you can get these lights to go vertical would be helpful.
That's a good point.
Yeah, you could almost do them as a 2/2 with just the vertical, right?
Yep. That would be a nice touch.
Yep, I
Or
agree.
stretch the windows a little.
Very nice, very nice. Neo-classic goofy, and I like it.
Quick, one thing about the roofs, I agree with those pitches. That was the hard thing. Those are 2 and 12 now, and that's the challenge. Is
That's not 2 and 12.
yeah, the wraparound porches.
No, that's at least 3.
Oh, I double checked. I did, because that's what I thought too. I was shocked because I hadn't looked at it in a week or two.
Hey, Matt, would they be willing to do a shallower pitch and do like a metal standing seam roof, like a green or something, to make it really pop?
Yeah, I proposed that, and that's what I thought too. That was like my first choice.
If it's really 2, below 2.5, you cannot put shingles on it. So if you're down to either standing seam or modified bitumen or some kind of roll. So I'd say you definitely want to go standing seam. But I mean, how wide are those? How wide is the porch? It's like a 12 foot?
12 foot.
Right, so if it's 212, it would be 24 inches up, but I think demonstrably that's more than 24 inches up.
Yeah, I'll double check.
I mean, if it's 312, then you're back into shingles, but I like Bill's suggestion.
Yeah, it's a fun little building.
Yeah, it is fun.
Yeah,
I'm okay with the semi-arched opening. I think that works. And when you put the brackets on and you do the 2/2, sort of has a little bit of an Italianate thing going on.
I agree.
I'm worried about that beam out there feeling heavy.
Yeah, me too. Push it back or let it be a cornice band that's up against the building, and
Right.
and then what's projecting out is just the roof itself.
How far does that stick out, Matt? That projection?
Looks like a couple feet.
Can you go to the side elevation, Harry?
Oh, it's a couple. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, it's enough that it needs something. I mean, I like Bill's brackets, but
Mhm.
which side projection, I'm sorry, coming over off the front with a,
Either one of those. How
those
tall
are
are those?
garage doors, right?
pardon?
Just say, how tall are the columns?
Columns are those come 11 feet because it goes down. Yeah. I'm sorry. They are 8
Gotta
feet.
be around 8 feet. There's a
Yeah, 8
doorway
feet.
behind it.
7.5, yeah,
Yeah.
based on the door.
Yeah, if you just, again, I hate to keep referencing that book, but in that book, if you just do the math, it'll tell you the calculation. It'll tell you exactly how big that tablature would be, and you can see if you're in the ballpark or not. So it might be too heavy to begin with. If you just do the math on it and figure it out.
To get your house right.
Yeah, there's formulas. There's a page on what's called the orders, and it'll tell you
Oh, right.
whatever the height.
Yeah.
One diameter, it'll tell you exactly what that entablature should be.
I'm calling BS, Bill. You love referencing that book.
There we go.
And to see
No,
the-
I just realized where I recognize this this building. This has a Canadian look to it. When I'm up in Northern Ontario, it has a very Canadian look to it.
Hmm.
The mismatching of the roof lines and so forth. It would be brick, but so I too, George, have a recollection. I recognize this place. Where are we now? We need to move on this.
Preliminary approval.
Approval then?
For sure.
Comments are more about detail, right?
Yes, yes.
Great.
So motion, you gonna go, Steve?
I guess I will. I move for preliminary approval with suggestions that the windows should be appear more vertical, perhaps 2/2. The brackets to support the hovering overhang, and Bill mentioned consideration of a roof line change.
Slope and material.
Pardon?
Slope and material for the lower roof.
I'm sorry, I still.
Oh,
didn't
yes,
understand
yes. People are putting metal roofs on too damn many things lately. However, this might look nice with one.
that. So you said you're suggesting a metal roof?
No, that was a point of discussion.
Okay,
Study slope and material of the lower roof.
Yeah, I'm on board with the metal roof. I just got to get them convinced.
We'll help you with that.
Okay.
Second,
Okay. Joan, you got all those comments?
I think so.
Okay. So we have a motion by King, seconded by Naylor for preliminary approval. Naylor,
yes.
Childs,
Yes.
King.
Yes.
Thank you, Matt.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
Fun
Alrighty.
project.
Yeah.
Okay. 138 South Franklin Street, proposing deck and window alterations on the rear of the house. There's an HSR. HSR built in.
Here we go.
Pardon? Built in 1874. It's been added on several times in more or less nice way. Certainly is historically significant, and it sits among other historically significant properties. Comments made, kind of interesting, I think. Conclusions, does meet the standards. Proposed outdoor deck addition of window replacements follow the codified ordinance guidelines for preservation of features. They like the materials, and doesn't say we approve the addition and how it affects the neighbors, but I think that goes the same. Move to receive the HSR.
Second. Did you make a motion? You cut out on my end.
Yes, I did.
Okay, second.
Okay, motion by King, seconded by Naylor for the HSR. Childs,
Yes.
Naylor,
Yes.
King.
Yes.
And the applicant?
Am I, thanks. That's
You're
great. Am I supposed to say what we're
Yeah,
doing?
Bill, yeah, please identify yourself for the record.
Okay, Mark Carrio.
Is your architect present too?
Yeah, yeah, sorry. William here, William A. Fline.
Okay. We'll turn the floor over to your architect and the property owner, and you guys can go ahead and present your project.
Mark, should I start here?
Yeah, go ahead.
The owner would like to, they want to remodel their kitchen, and in doing so, there's a couple windows on the rear elevation that are affected with the counter height. It's pretty straightforward. Right now in the kitchen, there's 4 windows, 2 on the drive side, which they would want to replace exactly the same. And then there's 2 windows looking out over the backyard from their kitchen. They would like to replace one exactly the same, but then because of the counter height and the reconfiguration of their kitchen, they would like to, the one window is, the sill is below the counter, so they want to correct that, and they want to set, because of the sink location, they would like to get a lot of natural light, you know, about in front of the sink. So we were thinking of taking 2 double hungs and mulling them together to get a little more light. So that's what you see above the sink. And then there's a bathroom that's really narrow, and they would like to move the wall over a foot to get a little nicer bathroom. And then in doing so, we could accommodate another window for the bathroom. And I kind of made it the exact same size as the half of the window over the kitchen. So it's kind of proportional. And that, as far as the windows, we would match the detailing and as all the other windows on that elevation. And they didn't have grids, so that's why I left the grids off. We do realize there's grids on the front, and some of this on the side, on both sides of the house. And I do realize there's, at the rear elevation, there's a screen porch, beautiful screen porch. And the owner would like to build a deck off of that, which I drew, a nice deck. And you see above that deck, or behind the deck, is a window from an existing window from an addition back, I'm not sure when, but that window does have grids. That whole addition has gridded windows. So that's a mistake on my part. I should have drew some grids there. But as far as all the windows were, the new ones and the replacements, you see them lettered. It all has to do with the kitchen. And we were thinking it would look the best to just kind of keep them exactly the same as the adjacent windows. There's the ones on the second floor are staying the same. And on the drive side elevation, those windows they don't have any grids. So we thought we'd just keep the grids off. And that's about it.
Do we have any photographs? Oh, there we go. Okay.
Yes, there are grids on the front. Well, while we're looking at those, I mean, I think this is perfectly nice deck addition. I think, you know, obviously they're dealing with kind of mix and match windows on the house, but what their approach seems totally solid. My probably only question is whether those shorter windows may or may not get shutters, because you've got a pair of windows and shutters never look quite right around a pair since they couldn't close. So maybe all three of those could just omit the shutters. But other than that, I think it's great and looks like it'll be nice outdoor living space for
I have one question.
guys.
Bill, where's this air conditioner being relocated to? Because it's not on the plan.
That we wanted to put it on the drive side. There's an angled, as you come down the driveway, the house, there's a 45-degree angle right there. And we thought we would put it in there with some shrubs.
So like right in here?
Yeah.
Okay. You'll need to indicate that on your plan when you come for your permit.
Okay.
This is Bill Childs. I just had a couple comments. I totally fine with this solution. I think it works. The deck's nice, the windows, but maybe you've already done this, Bill, as far as an educational aspect for the client. When you're looking out a kitchen sink window, when you put a double hung window there, the human eyes on an average person fall at about 5'6". That bar is going to be right where their eyes are. And so you're going to constantly want to either look above or look below. Typically over a kitchen sink, it'd be nice to have 2 casement windows so you get the full view. My gut would be put 2 casements, and then I would get rid of the shutters, and then the window in the bathroom, which is perfectly fine to put that small double hung, but I would just do like a little 2x2 and just make it a little whimsical. But if the client's fine with the bar at the kitchen sink and they're fine with dealing with that, then that's fine. Solution.
Yeah.
Bill, you were saying you were thinking 2 casements over the kitchen sink, and then so you eliminate that horizontal bar.
Correct.
And then what about the bathroom?
I would just do a little 2-foot by 2-foot window, since it's the bathroom, and it's a little heavy right now on that side of the elevation with that glass that's close to the edge. If you just put a little 2x2, and if you could pull it in a little closer to the double windows to have a little field on the side, it would just give it a little whimsicalness to the character of that elevation.
Adds light. Do it as an awning, and you can just leave the window open.
Oh, okay.
If you look at the back, could you pull that up, Harry, just for a second, please? No, the other way. See how you have those? See how you have those 2 little windows? Here, let me just, like right here. If you just take one of these and put in the bathroom, so there's more field to the right of the line of the gable, the wall where the gable is, and just take one of those, because you already have them in the house, and it'll just be a cute little whimsical. It doesn't need shutters, and then you get a little bit of siding over here to the side.
Okay.
One of these, and then I do a pair of casements and get rid of the shutters.
Okay, no shutters. and a little 2x2.
Well, I would go, this isn't 2x2. This is probably,
Yeah,
this
that-
window
that's-
is probably like 18 or 16 by maybe.
it's more vertical.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that would look really nice.
I don't think you need the window grids either. As
Right.
I'm looking at the other elevations in the house,
Correct.
yeah, I
Okay.
don't think you need them.
Could I see the front elevation on the drawings, please?
But architecturally, those three double hungs are perfectly fine too. I mean, that's more of a,
Yeah, those all look newer.
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out if the deck shows to the front, will show from the front. So not a photograph, but the front drawing elevation.
I don't think there's a drawing of the front of the house.
I
There's
know.
no
not.
changes.
It sticks out a while. I'm trying to picture that, actually.
So that,
Does
Yeah, the deck will come out about 12 feet or a little more.
So it looks like it's about 5 feet past the end of the house.
And it's with people on it, it's 10 feet tall, I guess.
We don't count the people.
Well, don't they have any friends?
Come on now. I mean, it's just a deck with a railing.
Yeah.
And our, you know.
No, I don't have any problem with the deck.
Yeah.
Little shrubbery, as he said, would be nice.
Yeah, I don't know if the stair might need to not go towards the side because it's so close, but it looked like on the zoning study, but moving the steps down is a pretty simple thing.
Swinging it around the corner.
Is that going to be wood, white spindle rail?
They were looking at a Trex product. It's the like black spindles, black metal spindles, and a dark stain, dark wood look.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure that the stairs going off to the side yard is really even.
I think they want to come off the side and go towards the front of the house.
Yeah.
That's right, Mark?
Yeah, so not now, but we're gonna have access, eventually we're gonna put maybe put a little patio area in front, so exactly to the side of the house. So we need access to the side to get there.
Because I've seen that done where putting steps facing the front of the house is kind of fun. The kids come home and they run and you have a garden path and go up on the.
Right.
And they could take you directly onto that patio, right? Well,
Yeah, so that's why we want to put it to the side, so we don't have steps going nowhere right now. We will have steps going to the side, so you don't see it to the front until we build that patio.
Those are allowed, Harry?
yeah, looking at the site plan, he says he's got 6 feet here to the last tread. It's a little deceiving there, so he's within the setback with the steps. So.
Okay. I would entertain a motion here.
Move to approve plans as presented with consideration to kitchen and bathroom window details and anything else? I think it was just the kitchen and bathroom window details.
Yes, and the shutters.
And what did you say, Steve?
And shutters relating to those window changes.
And that was just a suggestion. I mean, those three, you could do those three double hung windows. It's just another way of doing it. So if they're happy with, but I would take that shutters off the two. Like George said, you don't want to have windows when you have a pair of windows. You take those off.
The shutters.
Right.
If you like opening windows over the counter with a double hung, it's a bit of a pain.
Yeah, it is.
Actually, opening them isn't bad, but closing them is real.
When Bill said that, I'm like, oh, yeah, that's my kitchen sink.
We'll definitely make that a consideration, and I'll work through that with the owner.
Okay,
I
Okay.
second that motion.
so it was motion by Naylor, seconded by King.
Yes.
And Joan, you got the comments?
Yes.
Okay. Naylor,
Yes.
Childs,
Yes.
King.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, gentlemen.
Hey, thanks for doing all this.
Sure, no problem.
You bet, Mark.
Bye-bye, guys.
Thank you.
65 Church Street, alterations to the rear of the house. And variance was just received, I have here.
Yep.
We're looking for a final.
So what changed since the last time you looked at this was we moved the window to the facing the rear so that it centers under the existing gable roof. We decided that trying to hang the little closet bay was not really practical. But getting a machine back there to dig a foundation is not practical either. So they're going to put a couple of piers in and support the bay. So there's a few posts, but it's basically open underneath. And then had a long discussion about windows versus no windows versus skylights. And on the north elevation, Linda really didn't want windows there, but she's sort of grown to like the little 2x2, 16x16 windows, the small windows, so that they can go over the couch in that space. So.
I like it for my part. No
I agree. I think
comments.
you did a nice job on this, Phil. Proportion, massing, detail, it looks great. I'd move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Childs, seconded by Naylor. You got all those comments, Joan? There's a lot of them.
I think so.
Okay.
Thank you for listening to this on Zoom after I'm all done.
Okay, roll call. Childs,
Yes.
King,
Yes.
Naylor.
Yes.
Thank you, Phil, for your time.
Okay, 60 South Franklin.
Brenda Anthony, are you connected?
I am. Do you see me?
Thank you.
Brenda, did I send you the thing from RSA? I can't remember if I sent it to you or not. Plan review.
No, I don't
Okay,
believe.
I'll send it to you. No, nothing earth shattering. So,
Okay.
and you've got the floor. You can go ahead and explain your project. You were in front of ABR once before. You've been to Board of Zoning Appeals, got your variances and that. So
Okay.
I'll let you take over.
Sure. I'm Brenda Anthony with William H. Childs Jr. and Associates. We're the architect for the project. Also on the line is Virginia Burt with Virginia Burt Designs. She's the landscape architect. I don't know that I'm seeing her. Do you know if she's on the?
She is. I'm promoting her to a panelist right now.
Right. Thank you.
Sure.
So what we are proposing is an Italianate style garden and structures which reflect the Italianate style of the existing historic home. The two matching structures are a potting shed and a single car garage. I don't know, you may want to look at on the site drawings, the site plan that's on Virginia's drawings.
Okay, I
little
gotta
more-
jump to
Yeah.
the landscape plan here.
That'd be great. I think it'd be the page after this one, maybe. There we go. The colored rendering is a little bit easier to look at than the architectural site plan. So we have two matching structures, a potting shed and a single car garage. And there is a garden wall and a pergola between them. And if you'll please recall, the garden wall, which there's an elevation of it in here as well, but it has a niche for a sculpture and lovely espalier trees on the pedestrian side, on the street side. Combined, all of these elements continue the streetscape along Walnut Street and offer a nice experience to pedestrians that are walking by. I'd like to point out that we have not changed the design at all since our preliminary submission. The design remains the same. It was well received by your board during the preliminary, and we received approval. And as Harry mentioned, we've since then received zoning approval for the various variances that were required in order to execute this design. And I'd be happy to entertain any questions that you have.
Is there a fence along the side yards, or is that just a hedgerow or something? Evergreen hedge?
It's a hedge, evergreen hedge.
It's just a hedge.
Correct.
Yeah, oh, go ahead, Phil.
Would it, so that's that's designed as a screen and it's within their property, and from a landscaping standpoint, would it be your intention to plant larger plants and then thin it back out to try to get to your ultimate goal quicker?
Could you sorry, are you asking whether we're putting in taller plants? Is that what I heard you ask?
Yes,
Sorry.
larger.
Yes, our intent is to put in probably 7-foot black cedars.
Okay.
And they would be planted so they touch each other, and I call it feathering, where the two touch together, so that we have a nice green screen for both sides of the property, the neighbor and us.
Okay.
I'm sorry, are you putting in 7-foot black what?
Black, they're called black cedar.
Black cedar.
Black cedar. Okay, thank you.
Oh, here's a zoning question for you. Is that black cedar, is that the evergreen hedge?
Yes.
Okay, so we have to be careful about if you're using evergreens for fencing, because in the backyard, fences along a property line cannot exceed 6 feet.
I drove through the alley. Well, first of all, I liked this when it first came in. I think it creates, it's going to be beautiful, symmetrical composition. I like the wall. I think the pergola area is very private without any of the, kind of evergreen hedge elements. So, but I did notice that on the left side of the property, you already have that essentially, that's almost looking, I mean, maybe there are arborvitaes, I don't know that they're black cedars, but you have a kind of functional visual screen left side from the alley, looking at it from the alley, or from Walnut, excuse me.
As I say, I didn't know what the.
Yeah, from Walnut.
Okay.
But on the right side, it's more open, and I'm not sure. I mean, I feel like planting that evergreen hedge in the area, where the potting shed is, seems like overkill to me. I mean, it's a symmetrical element in the design, but I just don't understand. I mean, I do understand it where you're screening the existing neighbor's garage, but once you get to or beyond your formal rectangular garden, it just seems like what's there, there's quite a bit of tree there that I mean, I just don't understand that this has to be completely private from any neighbors looking at the side of the potting shed.
May I respond?
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Okay. My intention there is there's a driveway right there. And so when you diagonalize or move through 60 Franklin's property, I didn't want to have openings out to the street as much. So it's not just, I mean, it's one thing to say, yes, of course, the garage, the shed helps us screen the seating area and the arbor, but also it does a job when you're up on the grass terrace. It does a job so that it just does a job back there. So it's not just because it's parallel. And I think that what we're talking about is having people moving through a garden and using it. So I would like to suggest that this is a better, it's a solution that helps us soften and maintain some privacy there and not see a driveway with cars in it.
Well, I think you might catch a glimpse of, I mean, if you maintain that hedge all the way to the potting shed, but not beyond it, it just would not seem so closed in. I mean, I know this is special, but that's kind of more layers of special, and it wouldn't seem as closed in. I mean, maybe you catch a glimpse of Walnut Street vista from some of the formal gardens. I guess I'm questioning whether that's a bad thing.
Harry, as long as it's not called a fence, if it's called a hedge instead of a fence, does the zoning code apply to the height?
It does apply if they're putting it along their property line. Now, if they're going to stagger and move them inboard or inward, I think we would be okay. We just have to be careful when you're putting hedges on the property line. That can be construed as a fence as well. And our fence code mentions that hedges or fences.
We can easily stagger that.
Okay.
In that area. We could stagger that in that area and make sure that it does handle both concerns.
Okay.
Because I do like the symmetrical look to it. You know, I like that clean line across the back of it. And we do see hedges throughout town. And I think it's a great way of bringing privacy to the property without building a solid, solid fence along that line.
Right. It softens up the look.
Yes, yes. And I'm okay with it on both the north and south sides of the property as it's presented. I think this is just a lovely, lovely design.
Agreed.
Thank you.
I move to approve as presented.
Second.
Okay. Motion by King, seconded by Naylor. Got the comments there, Joan?
Yes.
Okay. Bill's recusing himself. Bill, just recuse yourself.
I'm recusing myself. This is Bill Childs for the record.
King?
Yes.
Naylor?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Brenda and Virginia. I'll be in touch with you. I'll send you that email on the RSA plan approval.
Okay, thank you
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
very much.
Have a great day.
Thanks.
I know. 206 Senlac Hills, Holden, open air porch, final.
Hello, everyone, again. So, Harry, did you get the drawing that it was a PDF file, but it had my scribbles on it?
Yeah, I got that drawing, but I didn't include it.
Okay.
I thought it was left over from the last meeting. I didn't know if you wanted me to show that or not.
Well, I have it here. I'm not sure.
I got your pictures.
Yeah, yeah.
Maybe-
Okay, well, we'll just wing it. The things that have changed since our discussion are, or evolved since our discussion, is primarily they were in favor of the concept of making the columns larger, giving them a little more weight. And they had received a bid from a contractor, including the patio. So what was originally going to be 2 phases is now a stone or some sort of paving material. They'd like stone. It might be man-made stone, but it raises the elevation of that patio to a finished elevation, which is a couple of inches below the floor slab of the concrete or the garage, which is the door directly off the back of the garage, and allows us to just have one single step or stoop coming out of the existing sunroom. We talked about the concerns that that you all mentioned with regards to the sort of holes in the inside corners that are created by putting a roof everywhere else. However, they're not concerned about it, and they like the fact that we do get some sort of splash of light back in those inside corners, kind of like skylights. And the water, Harry, if you go to the pictures of the rear. Hello? Harry?
Go ahead, Phil. I was going to try to bring those drawings up for you.
Don't worry about the drawing. Just scroll to the pictures.
Okay. Thanks.
Okay, so the first picture here is kind of dark, but I'm standing, the yard slopes down probably 6 feet. I'm standing in a sort of a ravine, and then it rises another about 15 feet on what was the railroad trellis or railroad
tracks,
track.
railroad property.
So they back up to the railroad property. There's the second photograph shows the chimney of the outdoor fireplace that we're trying to stay away from. And even as far away as we've gotten it as far as we can take it. If we move the structure as proposed to the north, but keep it the 13 foot that we've got it set up to be, that moves the 45 degree even closer to the fireplace. So we're sort of, we've made it as large as we can make it. It's a symmetrical 45 degree path, 13 feet wide, center to center, or 14 feet basically out to out. So you've got a 14-foot room that wraps around, and they may still have to bring the fireplace people back to raise that chimney, but we're going to keep it as far away from that new roof as possible. So the only real change, frankly, that happened was we increased the size of the posts, and we reconsidered, as George had talked about, trying to raise that roof connection up. But the way we've got it set up, that small roof link is designed to hit the gutter board of the existing mudroom, or not mudroom, sunroom. So we're capturing as much of the water off the roof with gutters, and still getting the lot. Well, when we added the patio, it lowers the ceiling by 6 inches, but This is what they want to do, and I think it's, well, they really like it, so. I'm done.
I never had a big problem with how this looks from the outside.
Mhm.
I think that little link that's gonna crash into, it looks like below your beams. So I think that's an issue. It seems like you could, if you bring it in higher, you could continue the gutter below it, so that you could connect the gutter, you could leave that entire gutter uninterrupted, and that the link could therefore, not cause you a water problem. And I think that's the only thing architecturally, I just don't see how you're gonna build it with that link coming in below the height of your beams that it's hitting.
This is Bill. I agree with George, but Phil, if you can solve that and make that work, I mean, I'd be fine with it if you can figure out a way to make that work, like George was saying. Do you think you can solve that and it meets all the issues, then I'm fine with it. But if you can't, then you raise it. So either way, I'm good.
The big thing is the stone happening now. I mean, I think that's very helpful.
That's huge, yeah.
I think it'd be nice if your posts had some minimal bases and caps.
Yeah, I agree to that. Yep.
I'll take a look at that. But they're ready to go here, so.
Yeah, but post bases won't hold them up.
Right.
A motion would be to approve it with those considerations.
Correct.
I so move.
Second.
You got the comments, Joan?
Yes.
Okay, motion by King, seconded by Naylor. Childs,
Yes.
Naylor,
Yes.
King.
Yes.
Thank you. I think that completes your regular agenda. Before we adjourn, though, I think there might be a walk-in. I'm not sure if they're online or not. Christy, do you have anybody?
I do. I have a walk-in for River House.
Okay.
Vince and Mike, and Mike's on the line. I will promote him to a panelist.
Okay. While I'm thinking about it, board members, I would like to schedule a special ABR meeting. Brickhouse would like to make a final ABR submission, and they wanted to get on this meeting's agenda, but it was such a long agenda. I felt that we could schedule a special meeting and have a meeting just for their topic. So I was looking at maybe scheduling something for next Tuesday morning at 8:30. Would that work with everybody?
Let me look.
I think it would work for me.
Sorry, what was that date? I apologize.
It would be the 23rd.
23rd at 8:30.
Yeah, or, we could back it up and, if that doesn't, we could do it Monday or,
I'm
Friday.
okay on a Tuesday.
I'm good.
Yeah, I can't do Wednesday, and
So Tuesday would be okay, the 23rd?
Right.
I'm fine on the 23rd.
All right, then that's the date we're gonna go with and I'll advertise that, so.
That's at 8:30.
Yeah, we'll make it at 8:30 and it's just gonna be for River House. We're not gonna take in any other submissions.
Okay.
And with that, I'll turn the floor over to the gentleman from River House.
I will, Mike, if you could unmute and start your video.
All right, how's
Super.
it going? This is Mike Scully with Brickhouse. I sent over, I don't know, Harry, do you have the prints?
I do not.
You don't?
No.
You're able, Mike, to share your own screen if we
All right.
share it.
Yep.
Would that be a
That'll work.
viable solution?
Full sub illustrations. All right. So we can go to this. So this is, we're just looking at residents 1 and 2 for this meeting. This special meeting on the 23rd, that will be for residents 3 through 6. We talked about redesigning this so that it fit within the height variance. And that's what we did with this. We kind of kept the same design, but like same concept, but we're able to get this within the height variance. I can see if, so this is kind of the Cleveland Street elevation with the garages, off the back here or front. We did have to change the roof line a little bit, but we try to, we made it as uniform with the other homes that we're proposing as much as possible. Let me take a look at.
Is there a river view?
Yeah,
looks good.
Quick question: is that a flat roof up there, the second building back, or is that just an optical illusion? Like, what is that?
Yeah, that's just an optical illusion. Let me see. There's a river view.
Mm-hmm.
So we tried to keep within, if you actually walk the site too, there's a lot of vegetation here. This residence 1 and 2 is probably the one with the most vegetation on it. And we have to keep that hillside vegetation. So, this river view is kind of shows it all cleared off, but we want to be able to illustrate what that rear elevation is going to look like without just seeing trees,
Mm-hmm.
So, and you have a streetscape for you so you can kind of see. So if you look at the upper left up here, this is that unit, and down here is 1 and 2 as well. So this is a river view, and
we're stuck on your river. Yeah, we're just looking at the river view.
Yeah.
1 and 2. I mean, I'm a fan. I don't have the concern that I know Steve has shared in the past about the glass that we're seeing, but I do think it's that facade seems scaled now appropriately, and under the height limit. I think that's great. And I think it certainly addresses Cleveland Street. I mean, it's fenestrated, it's got an entry. It feels like it is on the street. Yeah, I don't mind the vertical windows. I mean, I think this is a transitional design. And so the transitional elements are acceptable to me. I certainly think the gable elements and the way those windows read make it, in my mind, traditional compatible, a transitional design. But that's one comment, one non-voting comment.
Here's a voting comment. It's the same old story I've been whining about for a year. Got a 3.5-story building, and half of the wall, half of the square footage is glass. And I will not be voting to approve that, just so you hear it for the end.
Okay. Well, that makes the other 2 voting comments probably even more important. What do you 2 think? And I'm assuming we're not voting today on 1 and 2. This is a walk-in, so it's
I'm looking at this picture. I make that comment based on the picture I'm looking at now.
And Steve, just to clarify, I know you said there's too much glass. Just are you looking at the stairwell over here? Is that your concern? Is it
This picture I'm looking at now, this photograph is probably, I'm standing on the bridge or
no, you're
almost
standing
before the bridge.
You're up the hill towards you're basically right across the street from Low Street, essentially. Maybe up the hill a little bit.
Okay, which side of the river do you think I'm on?
The south side.
Well, I'm not sure I agree with that, but I'm looking at a lot of glass, and at night it will look like an airport.
You're talking about the large glass areas above and below the balcony specifically, Steve? He's just asking for specificity.
The summation of it. I mean, we have extremely well-lit bedrooms. I assume I'm looking at bedrooms up high. We have an extremely well-lit, much of it is stairwell, I believe, on the, I'll call it the west end. And the, must be a rec room area below the balcony. I mean, it's just a whole lot of glass. And I don't agree that your knees need to have a view. And when you're standing on there, as those two people are, their knees do not need to have a view of the river. I will tell you how to solve the problem. I'm going to say that you got too many square feet of glass, which is brilliant light at night coming out of that dark background.
I share that concern. We've talked about it from the beginning. I'm seeing on the, I guess it's units 3 through 6, more block solid shapes. I think that material is brick. It looks like gray brick here. And I think the proportions of 1 and 2 are much better. I like that sort of 2-story bay concept that you've put on there. But still, I agree this glass is a problem, lit up at night. And when I look at those block elements from 3 to 6, I'm wondering if you could bring those into the balcony area more and tone some of that glass down. I don't expect you to answer that today. It's just something to look at.
You like
So 1 and 2, you know, we're sticking with those ones right now. As far as the massing through 3 through 6, I think we've worked through that in our preliminary. So we're looking at the massing for 1 and 2, and as far as the glass goes, you know, if we look at these windows up here, those would be a bedroom and a bathroom. This is the family room. This is kind of like a flex area. The garage comes off of here, so there's.
We can't
it's not
see
a
a cursor.
Well, say that again.
We
We
not.
can't see
seeing
what
your
you're
cursor.
referring to. Oh, you can't see my cursor. I'm sorry. So the top floor. So I've been pointing with my cursor this whole time, and you can't see it. So the top floor of 1 and 2 is the bedrooms. The middle floor would be the family room, and the bottom is like a flex room that, again, with this vegetation, you know, I know I understand your concern as far as the windows go, but there's so much vegetation back here that I don't think you're going to see very much. And as far as, you know, I know you expressed concern about the glass, you know, being below his knee level. You know, that's a sliding glass door to be able to access that. And it's really the only outdoor space on this entire unit. So to be able to bring that outdoor space in and make that indoor space more of an outdoor space helps the functionality of this, you know, bringing that space usable. And that's kind of the concept we're going with, trying to get is a big opening so it feels like an outdoor space inside. And that's what we're doing.
I don't see any vegetation in front of the lower windows in 1 or 2, and vegetation comes and goes. So I wouldn't consider that effective anyways. There's no vegetation in front of the lower windows that I could see.
Yeah,
again,
what about punched windows in that lower, below the balcony? What if you went to, you know, keep a lot of window, but go to gridded punched windows? You've got that in the lower level of the 3 through 6. Yeah, I'm kind of seeing it on the oblique further
All right.
away.
Yeah, that's pretty much what these are. It's just, I think it's a little, maybe a little deceiving because they should be roughly the same size as those other ones. You know, it's just a difference in, you know, you're closer and those
They're
are
not
further
close.
away.
I mean, they're part of that big square of glass with the balcony.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm.
All right, yeah, I
I don't
mean, we
mind the
can
big
look
square
at,
glass, but
we can look at lowering, again, this is a concept, so we don't even have floor plans or, you know, things like that. So I'm not 100% sure what size window those are, but we can look at those.
George, what kind of windows did you say to look at?
punched, meaning that they would be surrounded by masonry. So they'd read more as individual windows or individual groups of windows.
Right.
Like maybe there's a single one, there's a masonry, there could be a, you know, a pair or a triple in the middle, masonry, and then a single one on the other side, or I don't know, some grouping that would read, kind of separate them and keep it from feeling like a giant, one giant window. And I'm saying that more to try and figure out what, you know, to help Steve and Wendy on that.
A flex rooms means indeterminate usage. Is that what it means?
Yes, it's in some of our other projects that have similar, you know, areas. Some people use it as like a extra kids room, like a TV room, like game room.
Got it.
Some people use it as a workout room. Some people use it as a little office. It's kind of a flex.
Right. Got it.
Some people just use it as storage for bikes and things like that. You know.
This is Bill Childs. I just had a couple comments.
Yep.
I can totally appreciate Wendy's and Steve's comments, and also on the other side, George's and yours, as far as the perspective of the glass and the view, but also from the community side of a lot of glass and glaring. One suggestion I would have is there are two companies, one here in Cleveland that we use quite a bit, Art and Science, a lighting company that does renderings and can really show you exactly how lighting's going to be from the inside or out. Or there's one in Pittsburgh we use a lot called Hilbish McGee. For the cost of this project, I think the fee would be fairly minimal when you look at the overall costs associated with it. It might be a good exercise to have one of those model that up so you can see how the lighting's going to really affect it and can make a good possible judgment on that, and maybe either satisfy Steve and Wendy's comments, or you may say, hey, yeah, this is a lot of glass and a lot of light, and it's going to be like a light, like a city lit up. My other comment would be, that's just on that portion. I think this hangs together pretty well. My concern is now looking at this with the colors, and maybe it's just the color. This looks a little brutalistic in a way. You've got this house and it's attached to this, that seems like a lot of mass, and it might just be the color of this lower portion, but I don't know if there's any consideration to think more of the composition of a base, a shaft, and a capital. And I realize this is transitional, and when I use that comment, I mean that either in transitional, traditional, or even modern, that if you keep this base this color, I like this siding here. Is there a way to incorporate some of that in here so it doesn't feel so heavy and kind of brutalistic? I'm using that word because it seems heavy and very dark in here too, where you have this real light and bright and airy, and then all of a sudden we run into a form that seems like there's a lot of mass. I know we've seen this several times, but now looking at this three-dimensional, that's just my only comment. Maybe it's just color or material use that would change that a little bit.
Yeah, so the renderings on 3 through 6, again, we're here to talk about 1 and 2, but and on the 23rd we can talk about 3 through 6. But those renderings really have not changed, other than maybe slight tones from comments as far as you know, darkening up the brick. We wanted to do, we had some darker brick with some real light brick, and we were told, you know, definitely no light brick. So that that was kind of, that might be the only change, is that it went from, you know, a darker to a lighter. So
I appreciate the mutedness. I appreciate the move away from the white brick. We don't need to make a fashion statement here. It's the woods.
Hey, Mike,
yes,
this is Harry. Just got one question for you. I can't annotate on my screen here, but down by the falls, you got a structure popping out in the river there. I don't recall seeing that. What is that?
it's an existing, again, this is just a rendering, but it's an existing little structure that where you guys cut in that riverbank there, it's right along there, that the paper mill used for, I'm not exactly sure. I think it's where the pipes crossed the river at one point in time, to get to the other side. That's my guess in what that is. It's not as significant as it shows here. It's relatively pretty small. It shows up on our civils if you look at that, Harry.
Yeah, I saw that on the civil. It looked like a water wheel or something. I just was, you know.
Oh, no, the water wheel was more down on the river. That was like I think it was an old pump that showed up on the maps when they originally pulled that up, and that's no longer there anymore. I think that was some water pump from the mill, or that has been long gone before we took, you know, ownership of this property, before I was even introduced to this.
Okay, we'll talk about it further. I just saw that, and I just want to discuss it. You got the message about the special meeting on the 23rd?
Yes, at 8:30.
Correct.
All right.
All righty.
All right. So the 1 and 2, the glasses, you know, we'll look at doing a punched opening underneath these doors and trying to minimize some of that glass and go from there. Is there any other comments as far as, you know, beyond the glass?
George was trying to help you with that much of the glass. Yeah, there's a lot of glass. There's 3 stories of glass on the west end for a stairwell, I think, or half of it for a stairwell.
Yeah, I can go back to that other picture.
I mean,
you guys are in the way.
There's glass and there's some solid bits there. I know it's attractive. Like I think if you try and make this into pure punched openings, Steve, and you don't let them gang the glass up at all, you're just losing something architecturally. And I think you're being maybe too, you know, rigid in how you think about that. I mean, I don't think that's
too. Want a good looking building, but the light is my concern. Changing neighborhood is my concern.
Every window makes the inside better. Maybe that's.
Well, that's swell, but we deal primarily in the outside.
You know, from our original concept, we didn't have windows in these locations, and I think these were smaller. And some of the comments were, hey, we'd like to see windows in those locations because it looked that front elevation looked bland. So we actually added some glass in from your guys' comments, you know, bringing that, you know, so it's not such a blank wall, sort of like
those windows shine into the hill. I don't care about those. They shine into the hill.
That shines into the Cleveland Street. This is the Cleveland Street elevation here. Yeah, so
maybe just variety of window size, or make them smaller. I mean, I don't know. Yeah, maybe variety of size.
I'm sorry, I thought they were facing on the other wall.
Go ahead, Wendy.
I was just going to say this elevation is much improved. I like the way the windows punch on this part of the design. But I do think when you come in at the next meeting that we do need to see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 all in their proposed design. It's very hard to just look at 1 and 2 and say, well, you know, 3 through 6 are going to be a little different. And I think you understand that. I just wanted to make sure we were all on the same page. And I think we'll be able to look at the window openings a little better in relationship to the project as a whole. But I
Yeah.
am concerned about this reading like a storefront if you have the lights on in the basement or in the first level and the lights on in the second level of these units.
All right, we can look at that as well. This, this drawing and our renderings, I think that's all, all of them put together, is what we've come up with. And I know that's what we submitted, on the 5th or 4th. So, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
All right, thank you very much.
All right, Steve, we got another walk-in. David Payne from Payne and Payne Builders, I believe is
I can't take another today, but.
Okay.
But I knew you were going to say something. Is that what you were going to say, Harry?
That's what I was going to say.
Okay.
Morning.
I've got to head out.
Understood. Yeah, and I understand that you guys have been at this a while. So anyone who, if no one has time, I completely respect that. If someone's got a few minutes just for some directional feedback, I'd be grateful for that.
I need a little volume, please.
Can you hear me better? Is that working better?
There we go.
There we go, Dave.
Pardon me. I'll hold this to my face. It works. It increases the volume and blocks my face a little bit. Did my share screen work?
Yes.
Okay.
I see a beautiful shot of somewhere.
Oh, okay. Do you see? Did the plan pop up?
No,
David,
we
they
see your.
Okay.
We see your
pardon me.
desktop.
My apologies. That worked.
There you go.
Okay, so this is the property at 289 North Street. When we did a renovation that we completed a number of months ago, you reviewed a set of plans at 297 North Street prior today. This is a home immediately next door to it. So this is the site next to the one you reviewed before, where it had the garage in front that the client needed to rethink their solution. So this is a proposed. This is a very preliminary, not fully developed, but just because of the scope of it, I just wanted some initial feedback, just directionally, if you may. This is to demolish the existing garage. The existing garage has a walkout basement. It's got kind of a flattish roof. It's got a couple feet of slope towards the front, and then it's a low pitch off the back. So the thought is to demo that garage and potentially replace it with something like this. It is a sloping site. One of my initial concerns, which I'm actually in conversation with the neighbors, the Roonies, is to try to do some shared fill to try to bury more of this right side elevation. It just seems like it's just too much out of the ground. So we're hoping that with their house location and pool, perhaps we can combine what we're doing on sites and try to average out some of the slope so that the right side elevation isn't exposed. But the general concept is this front elevation in the upper left-hand corner, outbuilding, trying to adapt to somewhat of a carriage style aesthetic. The client's downsizing from a much larger home, so the thought was to try to accomplish a little bit of program. So we've got at the ground level a garage here. Then if I scroll down, and tell me if I'm moving too quickly, the lower level, which is currently a walkout as it exists, they would do as an exercise room with a bar. If we're allowed, potentially connect through to the existing home. And then we were hoping to use some storage on the upper level of the building. So I haven't submitted for a detached building in Chagrin Falls before. So I present this very naively, just looking for some general directional feedback, from, yeah, David, you're on the right track, or to, are you out of your mind? Here's everything we don't like about it. So just looking for some initial concept, if you will.
I think we need a site plan first. I have no idea,
Yeah, David, I think you're gonna have some zoning issues here first.
Okay. In terms of size, height, what I think he's mentioned.
A little bit, if you're connecting this accessory building to the house, now that becomes part of the lot coverage of the overall main building. And there's also you can't be less than 40% sharing the main wall, the main house with the detached garage. That little connector piece is not going to cut it.
Okay.
We got to look at the rear yard. setback, you know, if this is a detached garage, are you gonna be exceeding the 30% rear yard coverage? Yeah, there's a lot of zoning issues that I see here. And I take it this is not gonna be habitable spaces, it's gonna be an accessory structure for cars and storage.
Yeah,
You
I mean,
understand that, right?
that's correct. I don't know how you would, even if we disconnect that, they're hoping to finish and condition this exercise room. The thought is to have some additional exercise and entertaining space. So I don't know if that constitutes habitable. There's no bathroom in here or anything of that
Well, I
sort.
see you're putting a bar in now. If this building, and I don't want to take up the ABR's time here. Like I said, there's some zoning issues here that we really need to look at before you go in front of ABR. Depending on whether you're going to detach or attach it to the house.
Understood. And so I'll cross-reference all those on my own time, Harry, and not burden ABR with that. So I
Okay, and
apologize
then
for not having
just have the ABR, they can, if they want to chime in on exterior comments, I'll let them go ahead.
very well. Thank you.
Do you have a site plan?
I do. If I can pull it up from the existing site, if you and switch to share screen, please.
What's the address?
289 North Street.
So Steve, it's right next to the house that you just looked at this morning. It'd be to the left.
Okay. North Street Day.
Okay, I'm going to end this share screen to switch to the site plan. Pardon me. Okay, so this is the site plan here. So I'm not sure how the window is formatted for you. Bear with me. So this is the, are you able to see my cursor or no?
You got to scroll up.
Yeah, you got to scroll it up.
See my apologies. I don't know what it is you're seeing. I'm seeing the existing home, and what's shown in the crosshatch is the existing garage with lower level. Is that what you're seeing?
All we see is about the top 25% of the drawing.
Okay.
The rear portion of the garage, there's no building shown. Or rear portion of the site.
Let me try this again. I'm so sorry.
I don't know.
There you are.
Okay, thank you. So the concrete drive is coming on the right side. That's all existing. In the grayish hatching, that was the addition that's completed. And then in the back right corner is showing the existing garage location, and this would be going in the same location as the existing garage. If you look to the right corner, the right of that garage, you can see where those topographical contour lines are pretty bunched up. That's the area that I'm hoping to generate some fill from the Rooney site at 297 North Street to the east here, or the south, pardon me.
So this basically fits where that existing garage is, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, got it. So can we go back to the elevations now? Sorry about that. I just wanted to get my head around the site.
Absolutely. Thank you. Okay, are the plans back up?
Yeah, got it. So what I would do here, if we're looking at this front elevation, is you need a break line like right here, just so that this form reads as a pure form right here.
Okay.
This is a secondary element. This is the main form. So then this form steps back 2 feet. And I would try to do that personally on the rear too, would be my initial gut. Is Cato working on this?
He will be. He hasn't looked at it yet. Frankly, he's just been behind. So pardon me.
Okay, 'cause he'll know what I'm talking about. We've worked with him a million times. And then, whoops, sorry about that, getting crazy. To me, these dormers, I mean, I understand you got to get daylight and stuff, but it's always nice to have a shed dormer fall about a foot, foot and a half from the ridge. It just looks aesthetically better. I understand you need height and stuff, but again, Cato will know what I'm talking about. We've had this in other board meetings. To just lower the shed a little bit. Maybe it even has to be a little flatter. Maybe it changes material to a standing seam versus asphalt shingle, just so those define. Again, you want to go from global to specific. So you start with your main form, your secondary form, and then third forms from that, which would be the shed dormers. And then I would just make sure, I can't really see, but just make sure your brackets are in proportion. Like these, I can't really tell, but these brackets might want to be a little longer and deeper and heftier. Like I don't see them on the left side elevation, for example. Are they just not drawn, or is that?
No, they're not well developed yet. So pardon the preliminary nature of the drawing. So
Yeah, no problem. What I would do is, if you're going to do a overhang, you want to do it about 3 feet, and I'd put some nice beefy brackets on there. And then whatever that bracket, whoops, sorry, I didn't mean to do that. Whatever that bracket is, I do it back here, you know, on here, some nice beef brackets, so it looks like it's supporting that.
Yes.
And then again, this hood should come out about, say, 3 feet. And then you get a nice bracket here. So you start to get some definition and elements in the architecture. And other than that, I think that would be my comments. I don't know what Phil thinks.
Thank you, Bill.
The preliminary to the preliminary. So given the other zoning questions that we have, I think we should conclude this investigation for today. When we're more ready to have a presentation, we'll be ready to look at, that's for sure.
Understood.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And pardon. So
I'm just for the record, I'm struggling to understand how what you show as a front elevation connects to the house in any way. I don't know where that roof or covered section would fall. I'm not even, I walk by that house every day, and I don't understand where you're going to find the room to put this on the lot. It doesn't really make much sense to me, but you'll figure that out and get back to us.
Yep, I will. So the thought, it might not be able to be connected. We were just, it was a subterranean connection through the basement was what the concept was, but Harry's clarified that can't be less than 40%. So clearly I've got to cross-reference the zoning, and I won't submit it without knowing exactly if there is a variance requested specifically and why. So understood. So
Hey, Dave, one last comment. What's the height of this garage, looking at the front elevation?
front elevation, I'd guess it's probably 18 feet, 20 feet maybe.
So you got another zoning issue there. You're probably gonna have a setback issue.
Okay.
So, you know, you're talking about doing infill on the north elevation there. This garage is probably gonna have to shift to the left.
Okay.
And once again, narrow lot, you know, I don't know how that's all gonna shake out.
I have one last comment. I think the shed dormer, see how in the back here, it looks like you pulled the shed through. I wouldn't do that. I'd stop the shed here and to let this roof match. So you got symmetry here. So this matches here. I'd center these windows right here on this window below. And then what I do is I take whatever half a light here and put them over here and line them up with this window below here. And then I realize you did the shed dormer to put the door, but if there's any way you could put the door in the center here, all glass will match this center right here. Then you got a nice balanced composition and symmetry.
That's thoughtful feedback, Bill. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. And I'm grateful for everyone staying after. I know you've had a very long meeting this morning, so thank you very much for taking the additional time.
You're welcome.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Welcome. Okay, that includes, I guess, is there anybody else out there, Christy?
No, there isn't.
No, we just have some listeners. Larry, Trace, and
Comments, yeah.
Nancy Rogoff are listening in. They can raise a hand if they have any comments, but I don't see any other presenters or bystanders.
Dun, 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 dun. All righty, this meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Christy.
Way to power through, folks.
Thanks, Joan.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, all.
Bye. Have a good day, everyone.
Thank you.